Okay, so we talked about going from feet into feet inches in a fraction of an inch. What if we start out in inches? Let's say we have 77.382 inches, and I want it to the nearest 16th of an inch. Well, now the first thing I have to do is I have to convert this into feet. To do this, we're going to have to, in order to avoid some serious round-off errors, we're going to have to get good at working with our calculator. There are some ways around that, but the best way is just to keep things in our calculator. So 77.382. If you're working without a calculator, by the way, you can just drop the decimal and go with 77. How many times does 12 come out of 77? Well, 6, which would be 72, 5 left over. But anyway, let's do this. We start out with 77 inches. We're going to convert it to feet first by dividing by 12, which will give us 6.4485. Now this time it happened to come out to an even decimal. Normally when you divide by 12, there's a good chance that's going to give us a decimal that goes on forever, repeats, and the calculator's going to be rounding it off in the display. So this is saying we got 6 complete feet. Now without clearing the calculator, we're keeping this in the calculator. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of that 6 feet. So we're just going to subtract 6 and hit enter. So we're down to the 0.4485 feet. We have to convert that now back into inches by... Add what? Nope, that was on there already. The point. If you weren't using the calculator, you would just use the 77. Yeah, and I can show you that in a minute. Yep. Yeah, we did use the whole 77.382 here. So now we're going to turn that back into inches by multiplying by 12 again. So it should give us 5.382, and there it is. So from that, we have 5 inches. And we need to get rid of the 5 and just work with the 0.382. So I'm just going to subtract the 5 to have the 0.382. Now I want to change it to 16ths, so I'm just going to take that times 16. It gives me 6.1, so that means it's between 6 and 7, which is closest to 6/16, or reduced to 3/8. So to the nearest 16th of an inch, 77.382 inches is 6 feet 5 3/8. Let's do another example. To the nearest 32nd of an inch, I'm going to take 118.814 inches. So again, we're going to put this in the calculator. We're going to keep it there. 118.814. We're going to turn it into feet, so we're going to divide by 12. 9.90. This is what I was saying. This goes on forever. 6666666. So we're going to keep this in the calculator, because if we tried to write this down and punch it back in, it's going to be off. It's going to be rounded. But we have 9 whole feet, so we're taking the 9 feet off of there. Now what are we going to do? Minus 9. Subtract 9, get rid of the feet. And then we're going to turn it back into inches by times 12. 10.814. So we're going to put the 10 inches down. And then we're going to subtract the 10. Get rid of the 10. 0.814. Now what are we going to multiply the 0.814 by? Yeah, it depends on what we're going to. We're going to the nearest 32nd, so we're going to multiply by 32. 26.04. So between 26 and 27, closest to 26, which is going to reduce to 13/16. What do you think? I'm going to give you guys like 5 minutes or so to work on this worksheet. Do 1 through 12 quick. Make sure you pay very close attention to whether you're starting with inches or feet, because we do have those two different processes. So number one, we already went over. We got 4 foot 2 1/8 inch. Number two, you get 10 foot 1 and 27/30 seconds. If you get something different for any of these, yell out and we'll go through it. Number three, number two, 10 foot 1 and 27/30 seconds of an inch. Number three, 7 foot 2 3/8. Number four, 3 feet 5 1/4 inch. 5, 1 foot 7 3/8. 6, 4 foot 2 5/16. 7, 7 foot 1 5/16. 8, 4 foot 7 and 17/30 seconds. 9 actually comes out to 4 foot 9 inches. Because it's less than 1, it comes out to like 0.4 sixteenths, which rounds down to 0 sixteenths. 10, 16 foot 4 inches. Same type of thing. That one I think is like 31.7 or something 30 seconds. It rounds up to 32 30 seconds. You just add another whole inch.
What's that? 16 what?
16 foot 4 inches. 11, 52 feet, 9 3/4 inches. Now 12 is one I want to work through because 12 goes backwards. We're given the feet, inches, and quarters. So we got 2 feet, 5 1/4 inches. We need to change this into decimal feet. This would be if you're going to calculate with it in any way. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the, I'm going to write it over here so I have it. I'm going to start out with the fraction, the 1/4. 1 divided by 4 is going to give me the decimal, 0.25. Now I have to add the 5 inches to it. So I add 5, I now have 5.25 inches. And now I need to convert those into feet, so I'm going to divide by 12. 0.4375 feet, and I add the 2 feet, so I have 2.4375 feet. Does everybody follow that? Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just calculator strokes. Okay. So for this box, you find the conversions? That's a nice little break, isn't it? I always throw that in there about this point in the semester because after the area and surface area and volume, everybody's ready to claw their own eyes out. So here, if I want to find the volume, I can do my area of the base, which is going to be 3 feet times 2 feet, giving me 6 square feet. So my volume is that 6 square feet times my 2 feet of height, or 12 cubic feet. What if, however, I converted this to 36 inches, this to 24 inches, and this to 24 inches? Finding my volume now, the area of the base is 36 inches by 24 inches, which is what's that? 864 square inches. So that my volume is 864 inches squared times 24 inches 20,736. Sound right? Inches cubed. Nope. Nope. 36 times 24 times 24. Now comparing these, if I want to convert from one to the other, from 12 cubic feet into cubic inches, we're used to just to get from feet to inches, what are we used to doing? Multiplying by 12, right? But these are not feet and inches. They are cubic feet and cubic inches. So what would we have to multiply by? Not 36. There it is. 12 times 12 times 12. 1,728. Just a reminder of that, right? 12 times 1728 is 20,736. The cubic feet would cancel out, and we are in cubic inches. Just an example of that conversion. So if this were done in metric, let's say that this is 18 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and 12 centimeters. Now I want to take the shortcut. I'm just going to do the volume of 18 times 10 times 12, just to get it done with. So you get a volume of 2,160 centimeters cubed. But what if I put this in millimeters? What would this be? 180, right? Centimeters to millimeters is one spot to the right. This would be 100 millimeters, and this would be 120 millimeters. My volume is going to be 2,160,000 millimeters cubed. On the chart, on the metric chart, we have meters in the center, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters, decameters, hectometers, and kilometers. To go from centimeters to millimeters is only one spot to the right. But, yeah, this isn't centimeters to millimeters, it is centimeters cubed, which means that each spot on the chart is not multiplying or dividing by 10, it is multiplying or dividing by 1,000, 10 cubed, which is 3 decimal places. So, 1, 2, 3, you have to add 3 zeros, 2,160,000. It's tough to keep that in mind, and that's why we're going over it again, because it's very, very confusing. I mean, trying to remember that different conversion factors. For example, let's say I have 0.75 meters squared going into centimeters squared. From meters to centimeters, how many spots am I moving on my chart? 2 to the right. So that means the decimal point has to move 4. Why is it 4? Because it's squared. We got to double it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Add 2 zeros. That's 7,500 centimeters squared. But if this had been 0.75 meters cubed into centimeters cubed, now 2 spots on the chart would be 6 times 3 because it's cubed. You got her, 750,000. So in the metric system, it's just a matter of adjusting how far you move the decimal point. You just got to make sure you keep track of that power. In the standard system, 2 feet is going to be how many inches? 24. Had you thinking there? It's like, is that really just regular feet? So you can't be that easy. He's tricking us. If it's 2 square feet, though, it's not going to be times 12. It's going to be times 144. So this is going to be 288 square inches. Or if it's 2 cubic feet, 2 cubic inches, it's not going to be times 144 or 12. It's going to be times 1728 or 3456 cubic inches. Probably the conversion like that I do the most. Now, for you guys, that is actually a standard conversion, because if you're looking at calculating the volume of material, a lot of your material comes standard rated as a certain mass per cubic foot. Like wood, depending on what species of wood you have, is anywhere from like 30 to 50, actually 30 to 55 pounds per cubic foot. Well, normally if you're building something, you're looking at cubic inches, not cubic feet. So steel, of course, is somewhere around 2, well, depending on what you're dealing with, aluminum, steel, what grade steel, whatever, you're looking at a couple 100 pounds per cubic foot or a little bit more. So you can do that conversion.
Why is that 144 right
This? Because 1 square foot is 1 foot by 1 foot, right? Which would be 12 inches by 12 inches, or 144. Then the 1728 is 12 by 12 by 12 for a cube. The conversion I do a lot, because I'm in the construction industry in the summers, is this. Let's say I have a basement I'm going to dig. And this is going to go down 6 feet here. Let's say this is 40 feet, and we'll go 28 feet here. Now we're not going to allow for sloping down the sides of this at all. The volume of this, and again, I'm going to take a shortcut. Since it is a box, we can just multiply the 3 dimensions. So 40 times 28 times 6. 6720. That is cubic feet. But when you do excavating, when you charge for excavating, you don't charge per cubic foot, you charge per yard, cubic yard. A cubic yard, and actually a cubic yard is actually, depending on what it is, like 1.3 tons, something like that, 1.4 tons. I've got to look that up. I used to have that one memorized. I didn't do any work this summer, so some of my constants are starting to slip out of my brain. But converting this to cubic yards, there's 3 feet in a yard, but it's cubic, so it's 3 by 3 by 3, which is 27. So 6720 divided by 27, 248.89. So that's going to be 248.89 cubic yards. Since I brought it up, we're going to look this up. If you were in the Woods class, I would. Actually, in the Woods class, we're going to go over it on Monday.
What's it called? Wood feet? Or concrete and cubic yards. That's something before it's this lumber yards, stone yards. Is there actually a reason for using board feet, or is it just because of time?
Yeah, because most wood, when it was rough sawn, was 1 inch thick. So a board foot was just a square foot. So 12 by 12 by 1 inch thick.
Because you don't actually do it by 1 inch anymore now.
Yeah, makes it more difficult. That's why they have nominal and actual. The 2 by 4 is a nominal. They'll charge you per nominal board foot. It's easy to do. To charge by actual board foot, because it's 1.5 inches, is tougher to do. Here it's saying about 1.5 tons. It's saying 1.2 to 1.5 tons for sand. It depends on the moisture content. Okay. I think I've always used 1.3 that I've always used. 1 1/3, 1.33. Anyway, for you guys need something to do in your book. Big book, page 272, exercise 9-8, and page 273, exercise 9-10.